In the days of ancient gods, voivodes, and kings, the long-suffering land awaited a hero. And then came the mighty Demiurge Tales channel, tempered in the flames of battle. Power, passion, danger. His videos will change the world. On the radiant shores of Crete, King Minos sought a sign from the gods to prove his right to rule. He prayed to Poseidon, vowing to sacrifice whatever wonder the sea god might send. In answer, the waters churned, and from the foam emerged a magnificent white bull, flawless and gleaming like polished marble beneath the sun. The people gasped, certain that divine favor had touched their island. Yet when the time came to fulfill his promise, Minos faltered. The bull was too perfect, too powerful to destroy. Pride whispered that such beauty should belong to a king, not to the altar. He concealed the sacred beast among his herds and offered another in its place. But the gods cannot be deceived. Beneath calm waves, Poseidon's wrath gathered strength. As punishment, he cursed Pasiphae with overwhelming, unnatural desire. Thus, arrogance planted the seed of horror, and destiny began its dark unfolding. From the queen's divine madness came a child never meant to walk beneath the sun, the Minotaur. His body grew vast and muscular like that of a warrior, yet his head bore the horns and snout of a bull, eyes blazing with wild confusion. His first cry echoed through the marble halls of Knossos, a sound neither wholly human nor wholly beast. Servants trembled, and rumors spread like wildfire across Crete. King Minos saw in the creature the living mark of his disobedience to Poseidon. Yet he dared not slay what divine power had brought forth. Shame battled fear within him. Seeking to bury both, he summoned the master craftsman Daedalus. The king demanded a prison so cunning that no path could be traced, no escape imagined. And so the foundations of the labyrinth were laid, stone upon stone, corridor upon corridor, destined to confine not only the beast, but the guilt of a kingdom. Under the command of Minos, the master inventor Daedalus began his most infamous creation. Deep beneath the palace of Knossos on Crete, he designed a maze so intricate that even he could barely trace its design without careful thought. Corridors twisted upon themselves, stairways led to nowhere, and doors opened into chambers identical to the last. Light barely touched its inner walls. At the heart of this stone prison, the Minotaur was confined. His roars echoed endlessly through the passageways, blending with the hollow silence of carved rock. The labyrinth was more than a cage. It was a symbol of concealment, built to hide royal shame from the world. Yet stone cannot silence fate. The beast grew stronger in darkness, his hunger sharpening with each passing year. And as the maze expanded, so too did the legend of the monster within, whispered beyond Crete's shores. When Minos' son died in Athens under suspicious circumstances, the king's grief hardened into vengeance. He waged war upon the city and emerged victorious. As punishment, Minos demanded a cruel tribute. Every 9 years, Athens would send 7 young men and 7 maidens to Crete. They would be cast into the labyrinth as offerings to the Minotaur. The arrival of each doomed ship cast a shadow over both kingdoms. In Athens, families wept as lots were drawn. In Crete, the palace gates opened to receive trembling victims. One by one, they vanished into the maze's hungry corridors. Their cries faded into stone, feeding the legend of the beast. Thus, the Minotaur became more than a monster. He became an instrument of power, a living weapon forged from pride, wrath, and political domination. In sorrow-stricken Athens, despair deepened with every cycle of tribute. Yet among the chosen youths of the third sacrifice stood a prince, Theseus, son of Aegeus. Refusing to let his people suffer endlessly, Theseus volunteered to enter the labyrinth and end the terror of the Minotaur. His resolve burned brighter than fear. When the black-sailed ship reached Crete, King Minos regarded the Athenian prince with cold curiosity. The youths were led toward the stone gates, their footsteps heavy with dread. Yet Theseus walked with steady purpose. He knew that beyond those winding corridors waited not only a monster, but the chance to shatter Crete's hold over Athens. Destiny had entered the maze willingly, armed not only with strength but with courage shaped by love of his people. Watching from the palace balconies was Ariadne, daughter of Minos. When her eyes met those of Theseus, something stirred within her. Compassion, rebellion, perhaps love. She could not bear the thought of him lost within the endless stone coils built by Daedalus secretly. She offered Theseus a simple yet brilliant gift, a spool of thread. "Tie it at the entrance," she whispered, "and unwind it as you walk. It will guide you back from darkness." In that fragile strand lay hope stronger than iron. As the gates closed behind him, Theseus stepped into shadow, thread in hand. Far ahead, the Minotaur waited, pacing within his prison. Stone corridors held their breath. Courage, love, and fate were now bound together by a single unbroken line. The gates thundered shut, sealing Theseus inside the twisting depths beneath Crete. He tied Ariadne's thread firmly to a jagged stone and began his descent into the suffocating dark. With every measured step, the thread slipped from his hand, a fragile promise stretching back toward light. The air smelled of dust and damp earth. Strange drafts whispered through unseen cracks, carrying distant echoes that mimicked breath and movement. Shadows thickened as he advanced. The labyrinth seemed alive, bending space, distorting sound, testing his courage. Then, from the blackness ahead, came a roar, deep, furious, inhuman. The Minotaur emerged, massive and terrible, hooves striking sparks from stone. Muscles rippled beneath coarse hide, and grief twisted his monstrous features. Theseus steadied himself. Steel flashed in dim light as the beast charged. Horns scraped shield. Blade cut flesh. They struggled through corridors slick with dust and sweat, each blow echoing like thunder. At last, summoning every ounce of strength, Theseus drove his sword into the creature's heart. The Minotaur collapsed, and an ancient curse seemed to exhale its final breath. Silence fell heavy and complete. Guided by the unbroken thread, Theseus retraced his path and stepped from shadow into starlight. Behind him lay the fallen Minotaur. Before him stood Ariadne, hope shining in her eyes. Without hesitation, she abandoned the palace of Minos and fled with the Athenian prince. Together with the rescued youths, they escaped the shores of Crete beneath a moonlit sky. Their voyage carried them across restless waters until they reached Naxos. There, destiny shifted once more. Some say the gods intervened. Others whisper that doubt entered Theseus's heart. At dawn, Ariadne awoke alone upon the sand, her dreams of Athens scattered like foam upon the tide. Grief weighed heavily on Theseus as he sailed onward to Athens. In his sorrow, he forgot to raise the white sails promised to Aegeus. From the cliffs, the old king saw black against the horizon and believed his son lost. In despair, he cast himself into the sea below. Thus the waters were named the Aegean, and victory over darkness became forever entwined with loss. When word reached Minos that the Minotaur had been slain and Theseus had escaped the labyrinth, fury shook the palace at Knossos. The corridors that once echoed with the beast's roars now carried whispers of humiliation. The king's vengeance, once feared across the seas, seemed suddenly fragile. Worse than defeat was betrayal. His own daughter, Ariadne, had aided the foreign prince summoning Daedalus. Minos accused him of treachery, believing only the maze's creator could have revealed its secrets. Though Daedalus swore innocence, the king's pride demanded a culprit. He ordered the inventor and his son, Icarus, confined within a tall coastal tower. guarded and isolated from every ship and shore. Yet Minos underestimated the restless brilliance of the man he imprisoned. From narrow windows, Daedalus studied the horizon, watching birds wheel freely above Crete. If the sea was watched and the land controlled, then only the sky remained unconquered. In silence and patience, he began to gather feathers carried by the wind, shaping the fragile outline of defiance. Inside the stone tower, Daedalus labored day and night. He sorted feathers by size, binding them with fine thread and sealing each layer carefully with warm wax. Slowly, two vast wings took form, delicate yet strong, born of intellect and desperation. To Icarus, the creation felt like a miracle. To his father, it was a perilous experiment balanced between hope and ruin. Before dawn, Daedalus fastened the wings and spoke gravely. Avoid the sea's damp breath below and the blazing sun above. Fly the middle path, where reason guides courage. Then they leapt into open air. Wind surged beneath feather and wax, lifting them high above Crete and beyond the reach of Minos' freedom-intoxicated Icarus. Laughing, he climbed higher, chasing golden light. Heat softened wax. Feathers loosened and scattered like snow. His father's cries were lost in the wind as Icarus fell into the shining sea below. Thus the waters claimed him, later called the Icarian Sea, and Daedalus flew on alone, saved by wisdom, burdened by grief. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, and share your impressions of the video.